Welcome back to Hollywood Dreammaker. I am super excited to introduce my guest. He's a lifetime member of the Actors Studio. He's faculty at Lee Strasberg Theatre Institute. He's appeared in over 150 films, television shows, and video games. You may know him for his work in Gemini Man opposite Will Smith, directed by Ang Lee, Indiana Jones, directed by Steven Spielberg, Mission Impossible, opposite Tom Cruise, Air Force One, opposite Harrison Ford, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, opposite Brad Pitt, directed by David Fincher. I mean, he's been on countless TV shows, stage productions. He's the actor's actor. I want to welcome Ilia Volok. Ilia, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Billy.
It's good to see you.
Glad to be here. Same.
It's been a long time. I haven't seen you in a long time. I want to set this up, Ilia.
Yeah.
So the reason why I created the Hollywood Dreammaker podcast is because I want to inspire artists to follow their dreams. A lot of people have the dream of Hollywood, and you know, my guest, you including, have very inspirational stories. You know, your story, your journey into Hollywood, for me, it's very similar to mine. You know, I came out to Hollywood with $200 in my pocket and a one-way ticket, and I didn't know soul in Hollywood. And I've been blessed to be living the dream. And when I did a little, you know, research on you, you came out to Hollywood with $300 in your pocket, but you didn't speak any English. And you came out here with this dream to become an actor. So give a little insight to what that journey was.
Exactly. It's also, you know, I was coming, again, I had this dream to continue my acting career, which started in former Soviet Union. I just graduated from the Moscow Art Theater, and also I was invited to 4 theaters, you know, including the Moscow Art Theater. It's a pretty big, it's a pretty big deal, because it's hard to, upon graduating from any theater school, it's hard to, you know, get in, you know, stay in Moscow, in the center of the, you know, theater world. I mean, you can end up in some provincial towns, you know, working, but to actually get invited and stay in Moscow, it's not that easy anyway. So, but I had to make that choice. I rejected the invitation, and I came to, you know, LA. Yeah.
How old?
How old?
Yeah,
I was like 25.
So 25. Okay. So where did the bug come in? When did you know you wanted to be an actor? You were studying at the Moscow Arts?
Yeah. Well, you know, originally before Moscow, I was on a path. I was a professional athlete. I was in rowing, you know, the crew. And we went to, you know, World Championship when I was 18. And then the natural path was to, you know, I went to become the coach, studying in, you know, it's like a sports college where you know, get a four-year degree, and you basically become a coach. But after 2 years of studying, I realized it's not something that I want to do. You know, I something has changed inside. You know, something was like boiling inside of me. I didn't tell anyone. I continued studying, but I also was, you know, going into it was like a local community theater, you know, in the evenings I would go, and the guy who was running that little theater, you know, we were rehearsing, you know, some, you know, little plays, and he told me one day, he said, you have to apply for one of the theater school. You have potential, but don't stay in Kiev, where I'm originally from. Just go into try to enroll in one of those central schools. Anyway, so that's what I did. I applied to, I mean, it was a big company, also, you know, pretty steep competition. It was like 300 people for one spot to enroll in, because Soviet Union education was for free. So it's a little different system. And then you go through like a rigorous selection. And anyway, so basically I got accepted, and then in the Moscow theaters that I studied for years, and then basically after that came to LA.
So
That
you studied your craft for 4 years before coming to LA.
That's right. Yeah.
So now you land in LA, you got $300 in your pocket. You don't speak any English. What happens then? How do you start out? What's the journey? How do you get an agent?
Well, the journey I was, first of all, of course I had to make some kind of make a living somehow. So I was doing all kinds of jobs. I was working in this, deli. My first job was cutting sandwiches in this deli. It's right there on Fairfax and Sunset. It's called Almore's Liquor, right there, right across. I think it's right across the Greenblatt.
Yeah, I know the place.
Around that. Yeah, Almore's. Yeah, I was cutting. I was cutting sandwiches and learn how to make a chicken curry salad and stuff like that. Then I was, working at I think it's just that chain just started on Melrose, close to Highland. That's California Chicken Cafe. So I worked there for a couple of months, and then I think it was my lucky, in a way, turn, because one of my first friends, who was, the Russian guy who came a little earlier, and he already started. He actually the one who told me about, getting an agent and how you do the, headshots at that time. So he was leaving a job. He was working at the cemetery at Mount Sinai, right next to Forest Lawn, and he had a position. It's a funeral service director, but so to get that kind of a job, it was like, he just, recommended me, because they needed like somebody who Russian speaker, just because they have like some, people from the, the Russian customers who, have their family members. But anyway, so I got that job. Really, when I got there, I felt like, wow, man, I am, compared to, the deli, man, I felt like I'm in heaven, literally.
So now you have a job, you got the job, you're making a little money, right? How do you get an agent? How do you get a manager? How do you get representation? What'd you do? What were your first steps?
Well, basically, again, the same guy who, referred me to this job, he told me, he actually referred me to the agent. There was the agent who actually was specializing in like Eastern European, he had some, Russian, from the former Soviet bloc, people. He basically took me on, and he started sending me out. I think at the first, while I was still working on that cemetery, he sent me, I remember one of the first auditions that I had, it was for the movie Love Affair with Warren Beatty and Annette Bening. It's that thing on the boat, and I got pretty close to that. I didn't get the role, and then I realized that I need a flexibility, because that schedule, that cemetery job didn't allow. I had to really work hard to get out of this. So anyway, so that's how, happened with the agent. But then right at that, but like after 2 years when I was working at the cemetery, I had to take another step into unknown. I had to leave that job, but it was a safe job, that cemetery job with the, regular paycheck. And I went, there was a position at the different cemetery to work on commissions, selling graves. But that was no guarantee, nothing, the money, you just, so that was another step. But I knew I had to follow what I wanted to do. I had an agent. I had to go for auditions. I have to be available for work, if I book it. So, and then, yeah.
So now you got the job. You moved to the more flexible job, right?
Yeah.
You can go out on auditions. So tell me, like, what's the first job that you booked?
The very first, when I started working on that cemetery selling graves. That was 93 in July, I think right after the 4th of July holidays, they hired me. And in October of that year, I got the job in this movie it was a movie for Showtime, actually, directed by and starring Michael Anthony Hall.
Okay.
And he brought in Robert Downey Jr. for cameo parts and Samuel Jackson. It was before the Pulp Fiction. Before Samuel Jackson, I remember like people know him, like they were like treating him like he was already, recognized, but he was no A-list movie star, but he was playing the cameo in that film. Anyway, so that was my first job, which is they Taft-Hartley me into and the job was like a supporting lead, one of the main, there was a music band of the Michael Anthony Hall, him, his girlfriend, and I was like a sidekick, the drummer. So that's what got me started, and got me into SAG, and that was end of 93.
And when did you come out? What year did you come out?
What year? I came out in 1990. So it was exactly 3 years later.
So 3 years later. So now you're here for 3 years, and you're doing odd jobs, making sandwiches, working at a cemetery.
Yeah.
And going out and kind of paying your dues. You're working jobs to survive. And now you're starting to go out on some auditions, and 3 years later, you land your first job. You get your Screen Actors Guild card.
That's right.
Then what happens from there?
It wasn't like I, started making a living right away at acting. So I was still until like 95, another 2 years, and I booked this movie in Africa for like 2 months, HBO, or like I ended up being there like 3 or 4 months. That was the end of 95, where I pretty much already kind of started basically making living from the acting jobs.
You're 5 years into LA, and you're starting to make a little bit of a living as
I started making it. Then same year, so the 96, the Air Force One.
So 96, you book a nice part on Air Force opposite Harrison Ford.
Yeah, that was a good, that was like a 2 months thing. Then pretty much, so around that time, so pretty much I started just going pretty much like from job to job, kind of solid on a regular basis.
So now
then
you're becoming a working actor.
Yeah, and I left the cemetery around the same time, and that's pretty much. And since then, that's what I was been doing. Working. I became a journeyman actor. Yeah.
That's amazing, and I know you're the kind of actor that you love the theater. I remember seeing you on stage. You're not one of these actors that was just waiting for the phone to ring. You were actually working on your craft. You were doing plays.
Well, it's always, I also, when I talk to my students, I subscribe to that opinion that the acting is not a profession, it's an illness, it's a diagnosis, it's something that you, who you are, it's not, if you're not, the creative process never stops. Whether you on set, whether you on, it's something you observe, you work on your imagination, you put yourself on as if circumstance, you train your imagination, your mind constantly. So it's it's a continuation, continuous process, and that's how you get into a constantly improving. And of course doing stage, it's a big, to me, it's a necessity. That's how you also grow, and that's how you become better and better. Because if you're just looking at it like, go from one TV guest spot to another guest spot, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people who do that, but acting is so much more than that. I remember talking to Martin Landau, God bless his soul. I mean, he passed away about 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And at the Actors Studio, yeah, and he was, running, he was the running acting sessions. And I told him like how appreciative, I am to be a member of that. And he said, yeah, I said, I don't know, without the Actors Studio, or I don't know. He said, yeah, you would be like some people who are in this business for the wrong reason, so that's, you have to know for yourself why you're doing this. And
why do you do it?
Why?
Yeah, why?
I think it's what they call to be an artist, or to have an artistry in yourself. It's something that you then start to identify yourself as. I guess it's like a part of the, like, again, I don't want to sound too, too how do you say, highfalutin, yeah, too fancy, like it's something like you breathe air, you need that, it's just, it's I guess it's part of the self-expression.
Yeah, well, I mean, actors, I mean, it's in you. If it's in you, it's
yeah.
in you. I look at it as it's a gift. Not everybody gets it, and you have it, and it's your obligation to, use that gift and make a difference and touch people's lives on, with what you do.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you teach the craft. I mean, what is your approach to the craft? I mean, I know you're Lee Strasberg method, the method is the Stanislavski system. I mean, what is your approach to the craft?
Well, I look at it, I mean, to me, it's pretty much all the contemporary acting is based more or less on Stanislavski's method. I mean, all the Lee Strasberg, Stella Adler, Sandy Meisner, they all derive from that system. They just took some parts of it and build it on that. But it's pretty much, I mean, when you read that, all of them, I mean, it's Stanislavski, it's pretty much, because Strasberg and Stella Adler, when they were in New York, inspiring actors, they went to see, I think 1925, when the Moscow Art Theater came to New York, they came to see one of the productions. And then some of the actors stayed in America, Richard Boleslavsky and Ludmila Uspensky, I forgot her first name, but the last name was Uspenskaya. Well, Americans pronounce it Uspenskaya, but it's Uspenskaya. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I mean, and they they established a school in New York, Boleslavsky and Uspenskaya. That's where Strasberg and Adler went to study. So, but those people, they were, they were collaborators, students of Stanislavski. So it goes from, and then the group theater in 1937 was set up on the model of Moscow Art Theater. The group theater in New York, which is Lee Strasberg, was part of it, and then out of that, in 1947, the Actors Studio come out. So it's the same. It's basically everything is connected to the Stanislavski and the Moscow Art Theater.
So for any actors that haven't, you mentioned Boleslavsky, his book, Acting.
Six Lessons.
Acting
Yeah.
the First 6 Lessons is a must read for a young actor. What other
Yes.
books do you recommend?
I love, I started reading Stella Adler I think it's called, she's got several, but I think this one on the craft of acting.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, it's great. The way she talks, and she the only thing she says, which is I think it's kind of funny, she says, "Oh, don't read Stanislavski, you'll get confused." Now, I mean, maybe the translation is, but you have to read, an actor prepares.
Yeah.
And my life in art, Stanislavski. I mean, it's all. I mean, it's pretty basic, pretty simple, but when you connect to it, you really know what they talking about, and all the techniques, the base, the relaxation, the public solitude, a private moment.
So
yeah,
for me, that's, as an actor, when I'm doing the work and I'm creating a character, the private moment exercise is one that I go to all the time. That and the animal exercise, which are, both, Strasberg exercises, are truly the way for me. This is how I step into the shoes of the character, and I spend a little private time in their space, and I explore that, or I look at, I call somebody from, their long lost father, or I read their journal. I look at what's in their room, to really explore that and get all that stuff that's not on the page. It's all that stuff that you create in that private moment, and then
that's right.
That beautiful work, you can bring, even with the animal exercise, to get out of you and step into the behavior of, whatever the animal is, and to break your, the way you walk and the way you talk and your mannerisms. I think those two exercises, for me, the private moment exercise and the animal exercise, are two of my favorite exercises that I always.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's, and of course the relaxation, but the relaxation is, it's actually, it should become a part of our life, even in it's not only for the classroom, it's anywhere. We just observe, we control, we see where we get most tension, work on that area, being aware of that, and when we continue keep paying attention to it, then it becomes second nature. Then you already walk in, because there's always that thing, like you walk on stage or on set, there's like a little thing, a little tension comes in, but you have to sort of give everything up and kind of let it happen, that relaxations are embrace you, that's I'm constantly aware of that.
So, for me, and this is recently, and, I wish when I was a young actor, I studied at Strasberg in New York, in the early 80s, and, I'd sit in that chair and do my relaxation exercises. What I found for me as an actor, what's truly been a game changer for me is I started studying meditation, and really learning how to ground myself and breathe and get out of my head and get into my heart, and really just relax my instrument, to find those tension areas and to breathe into them and to to relax them. And so, the learning how to breathe is something, I studied my teacher training in meditation, and
Yeah.
I teach my actors because I think it's a really powerful tool for them to have, that if they practice it on a daily basis, just sitting in stillness and finding their breath and grounding themselves and getting out of their head, that's a truly powerful place to be, because one day you're going to be backstage or you're going to be at that audition and you're going to have a little adrenaline pumping through your veins. And, how do you get relaxed? But if you train the breath, then you take that full breath and your mind goes, oh, I know what we're doing. We're shutting down the noise and we're getting into our power, coming from our
Yeah.
heart and coming from our true self. That it's a game changer for me. And I teach my actors that is to really learn how to breathe and how to ground themselves, because really, I found that I didn't know how to breathe. Like, I was a chest breather. I didn't know how to take a full breath from my roots all the way up to my crown and all the way in and out. And, learning how to breathe is a powerful tool. To be a great actor,
Yeah.
you need to be relaxed. You have to truly be relaxed. And, I found that, breathing and training it through meditation is a powerful tool.
Well, it's good, yes, absolutely. The breathing, and it's also, I think you concentrate on that, then it helps you focus on that, and you take it takes your thoughts off some extraneous other stuff. If you just simply concentrate also on the breathing, yeah.
That's a good question. So when you've appeared on stage many times, and you talked about when you're backstage or whatever, in this energy, have you ever dealt with like stage fright or, walking into an audition,
Yeah, well, I think it's a natural, you can't really, if you completely like don't care, or don't give it there is something wrong. I think I think it's a fine line between being uptight and being nervous and getting your ego. It's nerves is basically our egos getting in the way of our impulses. What people are going to think about me, how I'm going to look. Yeah,
like me?
and what is that?
Are they going to like me at the audition?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's the ego stuff. Getting, but little adrenaline. It's helpful because it puts you into this, specific mode. And then I guess the main task is to know how to direct it. Your inner, how to apply it to the given moment, or how to focus. But it's nothing's wrong with that, having adrenaline. There's always, like, you preparing to go on stage, there's always adrenaline going, and excitement, and
I love that. So you, like you just said, excitement. For me, I think that excitement is like batteries for an actor. You want that, that's
yeah.
It's like Michael Jordan in a game, and there's the clock's ticking and the adrenaline's pumping. He's got it. That adrenaline gives you that laser focus to really be able to go and make that shot. And I believe it's the same thing. I think the problem is with some actors is they let that excitement, they turn that into nervous, and then they get into their head and they go, why am I feeling this way? Oh, I shouldn't be feeling this way. And that can get in your way. So I don't like the word nervous. I like to just say it's excitement. You're excited. You're doing what your passion is, what you love. Your heart is pounding a little harder, because for me, when my heart beats a little faster, it tells me that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
That's right.
It's like a green light, go. This means, wow, you're excited about, you love acting. This is your chance and you're about to do it. So you're just excited about it. So embrace that excitement.
Yeah. And it's also something I discovered for myself. And I found this, like sort of like an image for myself. Your craft, what you do, how you train yourself, you're building a boat. Yeah. To go on a journey, whether it's an hour, 2-hour play, or you go on. So all this craft, and you get into the boat, and you have to trust the wind and the sails. You don't have to struggle to control it and make sure, let it just glide, and it will take you somewhere. Might bring you to a beautiful island, or it might be beautiful to an island not that beautiful, but it will bring you somewhere. And that's the process, to me, of performance. I'm talking about the moment-to-moment experience. Every time you're doing the same part, and it's a little bit different, because whatever you accumulated, your experience, your training, now you just let it happen. And I think that's the most important thing we could strive for, building our craft, to trust ourselves and not try to make it happen, but let it happen to us. Let it be affected by the partner, by the imagery that we create. Let it affect, don't try to grab it, but let things happen. And that's not an easy thing, because if we have that thing, I have to be good, I have to be impressive, I have to, here I'm going to be more expressive, temperamental, and then then it becomes performing rather than living moment to moment. And that's what I continue to learn. And when those moments happens, that's like the top.
That's where the work comes in. That's where the training comes in. It's all that hard work you put in to build that boat. It's that preparation. The more prepared you are, the better you're going to be. If you fail to prepare, you've prepared to fail. Your boat's going to sink. If you don't have that boat and you haven't, built a strong boat, you're going to fail. So,
but also when you build that, you build it to have an ability to let it go, to trust it. That's, I think, besides building that,
sure.
Besides all the training, all the exercises, but then it comes a point knowing that, it's gonna be fine. I could start the scene, let's say the actor, it says the Joe or whatever, Richard screams angrily. Well, it doesn't mean, screams, you might be screaming inside of your head, of his head. It doesn't mean but to be so, to trust it, you get to that anger, whatever it is, you don't have to force it,
Trust your instincts.
And I think that's the essence of the skill and of the work, to get to that, to be, not to not to drive it, not to try to make it happen. I have all this passion, I have all this talent, and I want to just, but also be not afraid to be affected by things. And maybe I'm not gonna even okay, last rehearsal, I went with the impulse of, for example, screaming, and and it was good, whatever, but this, maybe it's just totally different, something different happening with me, and it's all organic and connected, and it could also be like that.
So being in the moment and really.
That's right. That's
whatever the circumstance of the scene are, just being that and really listen and react and just being that without any preconceived idea on where it's going to go, or this is where
that's right.
Because then that's acting. That's not.
That's right. That's I think that's the essence of the skill of acting. I think that to trust your instrument, trust yourself, trust your impulses. But
so if there's a young actor listening to this and they have this, what do you recommend? Like, maybe some exercises or something that they should do on a daily basis to train that.
Like we mentioned, like you said, the private moment is great. The relaxation. I like, it's one of the Stanislavski's, the 3 circles of attention. You concentrate, let's say you concentrate right here on your desk, right here, then you switch your attention to a little bit outside, like in the room, and then you go all the way to like a next building or a house, and you switch your circles of attention. Yeah. Yeah, there is limitless amount of different exercises, working with the objects, treating, let's say, an object. Let's say even if you usually do it in a group, you pass it around, and let's say I'm carrying this, the notepad, whatever. Now I have it as a hot cup of tea, so I treat it this way. Yeah. Then I take it as a flower. It's just one of those, you treat an object in a different way. I love also, I remember, reading Michael Chekhov, and he had great exercise for himself. Like, for example, he would go out, and when he was like walking on the street, and he would like pick a person, and he would imagine that that person like is carrying a bomb. Yeah. So in his head, he would follow that person and treat that person as dangerous, and he would like see how, and he would follow him. I mean, not start, but like just keeping him in the distance, and like just to creating the sense of the danger. Yeah. Then he would switch and imagine that he's the person who's the perpetrator, and how that changes the his behavior. And
Love that.
yeah, stuff. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, of course, there is also a lot of exercises when you work with groups, one on 2-on-2. I like the one of the exercises, the physicality, like with the imaginary. Let's say 4 people get involved, and they have to move this imaginary car that gets stuck. Yeah. So this way your whole body gets involved. Yeah. And you pushing and trying to find ways and coordinate with each other, how to get this, dead car out of the mud. And this way it's a group effort, and involves the physicality, and sense memory is also a big part of this. I mean, the Strasberg built the whole aspect, or the whole array of exercises, and sense memory. You probably that drinking, starting with the creating a cup of tea, and then going. Yeah.
I held that glass of orange juice for a long time.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's all about, some people maybe even like make fun out of it, whatever, but it's how you make it real for yourself.
Sure.
You could again, this simple exercise could be very significant if you keep creating and keeping your focus and imagination. It could go forever for you, and as long as you using your mind, imagination, and making it real for yourself. I mean, that's.
One day you're going to show up to a set, and they're going to hand you a glass of apple juice, and they're going to tell you it's a glass of scotch, and you
That's
have
right.
to sensorily, taste that scotch. When you drink, you taste it. What does it taste like? How's it feel going down my?
Yeah, exactly.
So I love, kind of just becoming aware of behavior and observing, just humanity. I love people watching, because I always look at people and I go, well, look at that hat on that person, or look at how they walk, or,
Yeah.
One day, it's funny. One day I was outside of my studio, and there's a boxing gym, and I was sitting and I was just observing out the window, and there's a Walgreens parking lot across the street from me. And there
Yeah.
was this guy, it was like December 24th, like, you know, the day before Christmas. And he's walking around the parking lot, and he's got a hoodie, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he's moving around a lot. And I could see him like peeking into cars, and his behavior was like an acting class. I was just observing his behavior, man. And, it, you know,
Yeah.
I was going, wow, this guy is so suspicious, you know. I could tell that he must have been on some kind of drugs, you know, because just there was a little paranoia, and then he'd walk away, and then he'd come back, and it was like I sat there for like 10 minutes just watching his behavior. And you know, I'm the neighborhood watch block captain, so I'm thinking, you know what, this is a little suspicious. So I call, you know, the Manhattan Beach Police Department, and they roll up with the SUV, and you know, I got no sound. I'm just looking out you know,
Yeah.
I'm looking out a window, and now the cops roll up, and the cop, the way he walks out, his behavior, the way he's holding his thing, he's got his glasses on the back, sunglasses on the back of his head, you know, his bulletproof vest is, you can tell it's like uncomfortable, so he's adjusting, he's holding his whole, you know, so the behavior was like an acting class. It's like, for me, it's all
Yeah.
data that I'm putting into my actor toolbox, because one day I'm going to play that criminal. I'm going to get that material, and I'm going to go, oh, I know who that is. That's that guy that I saw across the street. Or, you know, I'm going to play that cop, and I'm going to go,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to use that behavior. You know, it's those little, it's the details, it's the little things, you know, and it truly, for me, you know, when I create a character, that's what I want to find. You know, I'll give you a funny, quick story. When I did Pretty Woman with Gary Marshall, you know, it was a much
Yeah.
darker film about drugs and prostitution, and I was the pimp, the drug dealing pimp. But
Yeah.
when I auditioned for that, you know, it was a pimp on Hollywood Boulevard. Well, I live right off Hollywood Boulevard. I went down to Hollywood Boulevard, and I found me a real pimp, you know, and I befriended him and some prostitutes, and I hung out with them, and I told him, you know, what I was doing, and he had this hat on, you know, this really cool hat. And I asked him, where'd you get that hat, man? And he said, Hollywood Hat Shop down the street. And then he had like a dress shirt, but he had the sleeves cut off, and he had a tattoo on his shoulder. I went to Goodwill. I got me a dress shirt like that. I cut off the sleeves. I put the tattoo. He had this cool walk, you know, like he had a little swagger to
Yeah.
his walk, the hat, the whole thing. That's what I brought. I got the whole wardrobe, his walk, his accent, and that's what I brought into the audition. That's the guy who walked into the room. And Gary Marshall looked at me and went, I love the hat. I love the hat. I mean, the hat got me the job, but it was the research. You know, it was really researching the character and finding the way the character walked and the way he talked and his behavior and all that fun stuff. That's what I brought into the room. So, you know, I highly recommend, I tell my actors to really open up your eyes, open up your senses, to really see things, you know, really it's the detail stuff, really smell things. Like you said, you know, like smell that flower, you know, what does that smell like? What does that orange juice smell like? What does that taste like? You know, what does it
Yeah.
feel like? You know, really get in touch with your senses, really listen. You know, I go to an art gallery, you know, look at Van Gogh, Picasso, look at the brushstrokes, look at the paint, you know, listen to music that you don't really listen to. That's not, you know, just to expand
Yeah.
yourself as an artist and have all this data for your actor toolbox. Because
That's what
one day,
yeah,
one day
exactly. That was,
you're gonna pick up that script and you're going to know exactly who it is because you have all that good stuff in that box.
yeah, that's what actually, that's what Stella Adler was saying. You know, when you're not just a regular person, now you look at the world differently. You realize things in a different way. It's not just something, oh, you look at a piece of, you know, the fence. You know, this fence may be standing there, you know, for hundreds of years, or it's a different, you know, it's a different appreciation of the surroundings.
Sure. And then how does your character, you know,
Yeah.
whatever choices you make, you know, how is that if, you know, if you made the choice that, you know, you were in a prison camp for 3 years, previous circumstance, you're going to look at that fence a little differently just because you made the choice of, you know, the backstory of the character.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer on, you know, what's on the page is on the page, but you as the artist, the actor, have to create the life, you know, the biography of the character, know who you are, make those choices. Because I truly believe talent lies within those choices, and the bigger, the bolder, the stronger your choices, the better you're going to be, the more fun you're going to have, because you made the choice that your character's a a panther, so there's a different walk to you, and you have the wardrobe choice, and you know that your character grew up, in Brooklyn and in a rough neighborhood, so maybe there's a public persona, a mask that's covering the scared little boy. You don't have all that good stuff unless you do that work. You don't make those choices. You don't have that stuff to play. You do the work and then you leave it alone, like you said, and just be in the moment. And all that beautiful work's going to come out in your performance.
Absolutely. Well, it's basically sort of say like my teacher was saying, going into your piggy bank. You just accumulate things, accumulate. You don't even know when, how, subconsciously it's going to come out.
Yeah, I like to call it, I love the piggy bank. I call it the actor toolbox, because
Yeah.
everything that's ever happened to you in your whole life, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of that shit is your gold as an actor. And that's what you mine. That's what you substitute, you personalize, you take your truth and you put it in there and you expose that through a character, and then it's real because you're not acting, because I know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to my father. I'm in a real place talking to a real person, fighting for my need for whatever, to be loved, and the obstacle is he's not listening to me, so now I got to take an action to get scream or cry or be whatever it is to get that what I need. So to really load the characters up and do all that work, the work is truly what I think makes a difference between an actor that, comes into an audition, that, is reading off a page, that, if you ask them in the lobby, what's your last name? And they go, I don't know. Because it didn't say so in the script. I don't know. Where you from? I don't know. What was your father's name? I don't know. What was your mother's name? You don't know. How do you play a character if you know nothing about the character? You can't. You just memorize the words on a page. So, it's, for me, it's like, do the work. Because the more preparation you do, the more prepared you are, the more fun you're going to have. And then you're walking into that audition and having fun. Because, I am the character. I know this character better than you, the writer, because I wrote the backstory. I did a private moment exercise last night. I know what my character has in their pockets because I know my character drank a bottle of Jack Daniels last night and he's got a massive hangover. So I put those Advils in my pocket. Or I know my character's drug addict and I know he's got, so having that secret, having something, knowing that backstory, knowing what happened, previous circumstance, is going to give you stuff to play.
Absolutely.
And then give you, it's playtime. Let me ask you your approach to auditioning.
Well, if you're talking about the technicality, I always try to memorize if I can. I mean, because to me, it's just my personal thing. If I have enough time, I always because it frees me. It's freeing me more than just holding a page. And then again, the ability to make strong choices and go with it. And don't doubt yourself, and you're just because you don't have much time. So even maybe it's not the exact choice what they were, but the creators, they don't really, sometimes they don't even know themselves what they want, and then you make your choice and they're like surprised. So basically, I'd say knowing the lines, possibly, if possible, that's like one of the important things, and then just to make a strong choice and then fly with it, and then don't second guess yourself, on don't beat yourself. Oh, I could have done. Oh, I mean, we all have that in us. Like, oh man, I should have done that. But it's just let it alone. Just do it. As long as you know that you've done what you could under given circumstances, because under given circumstances, that's it. Because it's always not enough time. It's under, we have 100 things to do and this and that, but just give everything you can, and then just,
Leave it
you know,
alone.
forget it.
Next, you know.
Yeah, and not don't sweat too much over it, you
Drive yourself
know.
crazy if you second guess. I should have, would have, could have, and I didn't.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, I truly believe your job as an actor is to go into that auditioning room. You know, make some big choices. You know, be more prepared than the next actor. You know, if you get that call from your agent at 8 o'clock at night, you know that you have a producer session the next day at 10 o'clock, in the afternoon. You know, outwork them. Don't sleep. Get those lines down. Make those choices. You know, go in there because I believe outworking, out choicing, out prepping, out everything the other actors is the way to go because they can't even compete. Their heads in the page. You're not. You're free. You made some big choices. You're playing, and then like you said, leave it alone. You do your job, and then you walk out confident, which is a really important thing. You know, because even if you had a shitty audition, you should be thinking, I rocked this audition because, a casting director can see that behavior on you and go, oh, he did good because your behavior. I mean, you may have rocked the audition. You walk out with your head down because you're thinking, oh, I could have done it better. You're telling me you did bad. So it's really that.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
It's really important. A lot of actors don't know your entrance and your exit are just as important as your audition. What the words that come
that's a
out of
good
your
point.
mouth in
Yeah,
that room are just as important, you know? So it's really
yeah,
being able to, give them all the right words, tell them
yeah,
plant awesome seeds in their brain that you're checking all the boxes. Well, this guy's prepared, he's polite, he's professional, he's like, well, I want to work with this guy, you're directable. If the director gives you some direction, well, you better give them exactly what they asked for because they want to know you're directable on the set. And if I need you to give me a little more anger, well, you better give me a little more anger. So,
that's right.
it's really about doing the work, for me. It's just you gotta outwork everybody. You gotta want it. You gotta be hungry. This career, you gotta be more hungrier than the next guy. This is not something you go into and you give 50%. This is something you have to give 150%. You gotta want this more than the next guy. You gotta be
Yeah,
relentless in your pursuit to this because it's a roller coaster ride and you're gonna have your ups and your downs and there's gonna be times where you have self-doubt and you go like, what am I doing? Have you ever had some self-doubt of your career
yeah,
choice?
of course. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's always. I mean, it's over the years. Of course, you develop that thing. Okay, I I did what I could and just let it go. And you look at your successes versus failures, but it's part of the human thing. We're always vulnerable anyway. It's just how to minimize that. And the nowadays also audition process has changed, being even before this situation with
COVID.
COVID-19, whatever. But it was already like, I'd say 90-80% it was self-tape stuff, which is in many cases it's good, but it also creates more competition because
Sure.
people could tape. Like before, if you could not make it to the audition, that's it, you're out. Now they everybody could pretty much
Sure. Yeah.
self-tape.
If I'm a casting director and I don't know your work, I probably wouldn't bring you into the room with the producers because you may make me look bad. But if you send me a self-tape, then I can judge it and make a choice from that. So, the doors are, wide open for, I don't know. Well, send me a self-tape, and then
But even now they don't even before the situation, they didn't really have, they stopped having those producer sessions. I mean, you basically either you go into the casting office and it's they put you on tape and it goes to the producers, the tape, yeah,
yeah.
or it's a self tape that you send or your agent send, and then they look at it, or you don't know if it's going to go to the producer. But I'm just saying that a little bit the nature of it is changing, which I think for the for the quality of audition, it gives you more time to prepare. You know, you could do several takes.
Sure.
You don't like this, you could, but then also it creates, again, more competition, you know, with that. So, but I mean, regardless, we have to, you know, we have to be prepared for both. Anyway, it's a, you know, it's about constant process and training. Whether it doesn't matter, you're in the room or you're just putting yourself on tape. Anyway, your instrument has to be ready and fresh and tuned. And how do you get that? By work.
Yeah. So, you know, for me during this COVID times, you know, I told all my actors, I said, this is not a time to lay down. This is not a lot of time to sit down and binge watch Netflix. And, you know, this is a time to work on your craft. This is time to really work on your self-tapes. You know, I created a 30-day self-tape challenge, you know, for my students where they have to put, you know, 30 days worth of self-tapes, you know, and really perfect their self-tape game, because that is truly going to be the future of casting. And I believe that, you know, director sessions, whatever callback may be via Zoom, just like we're doing now. So
that's right, yeah.
Why not truly perfect that, you know? And I don't like, you know, when I see a self-tape an actor with his sides in his hand and, you know, a wrinkled curtain in the background, you know, okay, you want to give him that, or why don't you just give him the performance? Why don't you make it a no-brainer for a casting, an agent or a director to see when they see this, your performance. Now you got the wardrobe of the character on, your frame, you're filling the frame with the background. You know, let's say you're playing I don't know, a guy who's getting interrogated in, you know, in a police cell, or maybe you find yourself a wall, you know, a dark gray wall that looks like something, you know, you might find in an interrogation room, you know, maybe you light it, you know, maybe a little harsh light overhead, like if they were filming it, you know, and you really give them the performance. So when they're watching self-tape after self-tape of actor auditioning, and then you pop up on their screen and it's a performance and you're rocking and rolling and you're putting, you know, you personalize and you substitute and you're putting your soul into this thing and you're making them feel, they're going to remember you. You may not get that job, but they're going to take note of what you did because you played full out. You didn't go in there and give, you know, 50%. You went and played full out. And I know if I'm a casting director and I see an actor playing full out and making big choices, I'm going to become a fan of your work. And I want to bring you back in because you know what? You make me look good. You're playing a bigger game than the other actors. That's what I'm talking about. Outworking, self-taping, you know, all of that. You know, this is the time to be working on an accent. This is the time, if you see yourself playing a character with an accent, well, you better, if you look that type, you better work on that. This is the time.
Yeah.
You better be reading scripts. You better be, you know, learning editing, you know, so you can edit, you write your own short film, write your own.
That's right, yeah.
Right, create your own material. You know, the beauty is when I came out to Hollywood, you know, you had to book a job to get a little piece of footage on yourself. You know, you may do a little guest star or a co-star, you know, and you get that and you start building a demo reel. And now with these iPhones, you know, you can write, produce your own thing, make your own little movie on these things, and the quality looks great. So why not at this time right now be creating those self-tape monologues, those roles that you see yourself getting cast in? This is the time to be building your actor toolbox. So when that audition comes up and they're looking for that drug dealer, well, you already have a piece of footage that you shot during COVID that you could send to them, and they're going to see it and they're like, oh my gosh, that's a drug dealer. Let's bring him in. Oh. You know, so
that's right. Yeah,
you're showing them exactly your star power, your castability. You know, if you look like you're from Russia, you better be able to do a Russian accent because guess what? You're gonna run up against a guy like you who's the real deal, and you're gonna look like a fool. So this is the time to start working on the accent.
That's right.
You know, and really working on your craft. Either, you know, I usually these are usually about 35 minutes, you know, I'm really enjoy talking to you about the craft and everything. But I got to cut it short. But
yeah,
what I wanted to, you know, just ask you a couple quick, you know, things is, you know, if you had to impart some wisdom, some of the knowledge that you've learned over the years in the game in Hollywood, what would that be to that young artist thinking of maybe, they have this dream, or maybe they live in Russia and they have this dream about being an actor, but everybody's laughing at them and telling them that it can't be done and you're crazy and it's a pipe dream. What would you say to them?
Well, I think it might sound like a cliche, but you have to follow your passion, your impulse, no matter how sometimes it's scary it is. And also, like somebody said, and I love that, actors, we have to have the optimism of a tennis ball and a skin thick as the elephant. So we have to combine or try to get those qualities, because we're going to be knocked down and we have to get up and keep going, no matter what happens. It's one of my favorite, and I used it in this one-man show I did. I co-wrote actually with it's about this. Anyway, there's a quote from Chekhov where the Nina, the seagull, the girl from the seagull, the lead character, she was telling to Constantine at the end of the play, when she meets him, and she tells him, she was an aspiring actress, and she went to this journey with the professional theater, and she said, you know what, I realized now, after all these years, it's not the sound of applause what matters. It's the ability to keep going no matter what happens. So I think that's the
love it
essence. It's we love it. But disappointments happen, but we have to keep doing it.
Yeah,
finding strength.
Never quit. You keep doing it. You go after that dream with a vengeance, and you know what? You never know. That one audition, you never know where it's going to come. You may not have had an audition for 6 months, and you may be second guessing your career choice, and then something magically happens, that audition comes up, you go in there, boom, next thing you know, you have your own TV show, or you're in a big movie. It just happens that way. But you can only be in it if, win it if you're in it. You got to be in it. You got to be going after it, and you got to you got to have thick skin, because there is a lot of rejection, and there is going to be unemployment, and there's going to be the highs and the lows and all that stuff in between. But it's the journey. It's truly the journey. And if it's in your heart and it's your passion, then you have to follow your passion. You have to go for it, because you don't want to be on your deathbed going, you know what, I shoulda, woulda, coulda, but I didn't. At least if you go in there and you give it everything you have, you can be proud that you went after your passion. And it's, there's nothing better when I did it, man. I mean, look what you did. You've accomplished an amazing thing, coming out with $300, not knowing a friggin' soul out, not even speaking English. And you've worked with Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Steven Spielberg. I mean, the list goes on. John Travolta, Harrison Ford. I mean, you've worked with the A-list, Will Smith, the A-list of A-list actors, you and them face to face, side by side. You made that shit happen. You made that dream a reality. Check, you did it. You made it happen, So, I love when I turn on the TV and boom, you're there. I'm watching a movie and, boom. Or if there's a movie with like Russian guys, I'm going, I know Ilia is going to be in this movie. Where is he? Where is he? If you're not in the movie, I'm pissed off. I go, he must have been working on something else. I really, truly, I love, just real quick, give me your favorite Hollywood story, or working on, what was your favorite actor, director, or some story, your favorite Hollywood story?
Oh, shit. Oh, my favorite Hollywood story. Oh, Well, the story. I mean, I'm not. I mean that was kind of that was kind of crazy. I was working with there was a movie with Oliver Stone, U-Turn, with the Sean Penn and John Voight and Billy Bob Thornton. Anyway, so and it was that I played a sidekick to the a Russian mafia guy, and then the Oliver Stone. I think he wrote some additional stuff for me, and then it was great. And then I went back to LA, finished the job, and then my agent gets this thing that they want to bring him back. They wrote another scenes for him. Oh, that's great. So they and then they so I get on exciting, fly me to Phoenix, and to this little town, Arizona Superior, where they were shooting, and they say, well, this is the scene in prison. And but it says to be determined. To be determined, on a call sheet it says to be determined what's gonna happen. Anyway, and I call this scene, and I call this thing an actor prepares. So I'm all excited, man. It's gonna be in prison. It's gonna be, I'm gonna be fighting and this and I'm getting ready to some exciting stuff, and comes down to Oliver Stone wrote a scene that I'm getting raped by this hillbillies, and it's like the guy who was right before that, during the lunch, because the scene getting delayed, it's getting later, and we have to shoot before lunch, and then it's and this guy, he's a cinematographer, who shot The Doors, and he won an Oscar for Departed. That cinematographer, at that he comes into me and said, you know what, you're gonna be raped, and I'm like, are you kidding? And then I'm it hits on me. Fuck. Well, he used strong language, he used you're gonna be, and I'm like, yeah, right. And then it hits me. I think he's right. So basically they created the whole, it's a prison cell, and this hillbillies, which he hired non-actors, all this type, huge guys, scary. And then basically, and I'm thinking, man, I mean, there is no way to call SAG because it's Saturday. I need to know. There is no way I cannot call my agent. I have to make a decision because it's a pretty graphic thing. They're shooting in anyway. So it was okay. I mean, they ended up. They I don't want to go into it was okay. I actually made some of the acting choice that actually kind of worked anyway. But then he didn't end up on screens because he did 300 screenings, and the last moment he decided to cut the whole. It's that scene with the Power Booth is corrupted cop. He comes in and he's seeing me being raped in this thing, and anyway, but they gave me the outtakes.
Oh wow!
I have the outtakes. So one day I'm gonna be showing to my grandkids. But it was a funny. I call that an actor prepares. You think about, oh man, you're gonna have some acting and
cool fights.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's something to jumps in my mind when asking about interesting stories. But yeah, you have to be in those situations. You have to be able to use your judgment and
sure. It's a judgment
You
call.
know?
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, I have a lot of actresses, and they have to, if there's something that they don't feel comfortable doing, they have to be able to say no. I'm not.
Well, interesting, Billy. Interesting you mentioned, because on that movie, they had one of the girls who I pick up on my trip. Yeah, the hitchhiker. One of the girls, was an actress from LA, and they asked her to take over the bra in the scene. Like, we're having fun, and like she's like, and she said, well, it wasn't
in the script.
So she didn't want to do it. So they had to delay the shoot. She left, and they got some local,
Somebody willing to do it.
non actress.
Yeah.
Like they got, like exactly what you're saying.
But good for her for standing up for her beliefs. Just because you're on a set with some big director doesn't mean you have to do something that doesn't make you feel comfortable. That's not doesn't feel right. You can say no. You can call up Screen Actors Guild and go, hey, I'm not comfortable doing this. This was not in the script. So good for her for doing that.
Yeah.
Hey, Ilia,
Yeah.
I gotta thank you. I know we have
absolutely
ages, and I called you kind of last minute because I was like, what? I was thinking, who can I call? Who's in a really inspiring story? And I thought of you. Your journey into Hollywood is an inspirational journey. At 25, coming to LA with $300, not knowing any English, and look at what you've accomplished. So you made the dream a reality. And I want to thank you truly from the bottom of my heart. It's great to see you. Hopefully maybe when all this craziness calms down, we can, grab some lunch or something like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I look forward to seeing you on the screen. I know there's plenty more to come. So, you're a very talented actor, and, anytime
Thanks so much, Billy.
Play, going on, and let me know. I'd love to come see you on stage.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Take care. Stay safe. Stay healthy. God bless.
You too, Billy.
All right. Take care.
All the best. Thank you. Take care. All the best. Good luck.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Please rate, review, share this with your friends. Subscribe if you haven't. Please take whatever you get from here, the golden nuggets, and apply them to your career. Go after your dreams with passion. Don't let anybody tell you it can't be done. I believe in you. Follow your dreams. I'll see you in Hollywood.